Hi, it's Morag Gamble from the Permaculture Education Institute and our Permaculture Life. And it's my great pleasure today to introduce you to someone who's come to visit us at Crystal Waters. So this is Panut
Yes.
from the Orangutan Information Centre. And last night he gave a talk here with his colleague Nyla about the project for protecting and saving orangutans, restoring thousands of acres of forest and weaving this with permaculture. Now, it was an absolutely brilliant talk, and I've invited Panut to share with us today a little bit about how permaculture connects with saving orangutans, and just to share a bit of your story about what you do there. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting. Agriculture is actually a good thing, but at the same time it's a serious threat to our rainforest because the expansion. So we actually doing something to address the issue by promoting, ecological farming in a way of like permaculture practice. And then that way local people actually learn that permaculture is an option for them to actually cultivate the land in more sustainable way, appreciating the nature and allowing their land to be part of the habitat. But at the same time, you can actually use the lands for your own good, for crops, for your food, and in a better way, like intercropping system, and then just preventing all the chemicals into your land that save a lot of everything that you have in your land and actually make more. So that way, the people actually, think that they can improve better in their livelihood, and improving their livelihood means actually we help them to help themselves, and then become more prosperous, and then they will not look at forest as commodity, and that way they can be part of our network for conservation, and they can help us. When they see orangutans in their garden, then they can just contact us. They can do something about it to push orangutan back to the forest without actually harming them.
So where exactly is your project? Can you tell us? So it's in Indonesia, in Sumatra.
Yeah, our project is located in the Leuser Ecosystem, and around the Leuser Ecosystem, the only place in the world where orangutans, elephants, rhino, and tiger actually live together. They roam together in the same habitat.
That's the only place in the world, you said?
Only place in the world that has 4 megafauna, which is the flagship species. We are trying to save these species, and we don't want them to be extinct. And then this forest for this species is actually really, really amazing, that they actually provide so much resources and so much services for people. When we keep the forests intact, then actually, provide a lot of services like water supply.
So this is a really important thing that I think, that your project connects things. So you're coming from an idea of protecting orangutan, because the orangutans, as you were saying, are gardeners of the forest, and protecting the forest then creates the environment that creates that is an intact habitat for humans. So without that, we create depleted environments for the humans in this space.
So it's all about coexist with our nature, with our wildlife, in a way that actually we have a kind of big gap between landscape for the wildlife and landscape for humans, and then we have our own space, and they have their own space. That's the way we want to create in many ways. So creating such understanding on that, and then people believe that there is strong connections between nature and the people. So it's really important, because if we don't involve the people, then we will fail to save the orangutan in the forest, because when we only focus on the orangutans without actually empowering local people to be part of the action, then there's no use, because at the end, if we allow expansion of plantation into the rainforest, into the habitat, then it will be trouble in the long run.
So there's a couple of things that you said last night that I found really interesting, that the plantation model in your area is not something, the word even, the concept of a plantation is not something that exists in your culture traditionally. And that it's only since 1990s that it's turned from naturally being that a farm is an agroforestry system into a plantation system. So what impact is that having on your local cultures and your local environments and communities, and how is permaculture helping to start to shift things in that direction again?
It's a pity that actually our practice become monoculture, and the term plantations or plantation actually introduced to our people, and then in the past people don't even know the term plantations, because we always in a way cultivate in a agroforestry system. Even the local our ancestor, our older generations always refer forests as their part of their livelihoods, that they can source many things from the forest in a sustainable way without clearing the forests and in agroforestry system. So their farmland is always like forests, because that's the nature, the way they can harvest many things. So now it's actually introduced, and it's about now mentality of young people thinking about how to exploit the land in a monoculture practice, which is really, really bad in the long term, because you just don't allow anything to grow apart from your single crop, and that mentality, it will ruin actually our own nature, because we keep expanding, and then the many wildlife cannot even coexist with us, because not many wildlife cannot actually survive in the monoculture land. So,
and you're also saying that in the monoculture, it's all about export crops. It's nothing about growing food to feed the families. So people who are doing plantations are not actually feeding themselves from that land.
Yeah, exactly. So many monoculture don't produce food.
So the nutrition, have you noticed over that time that health issues are becoming more? If you're not growing food and having to buy poorer quality food, is that a problem?
Yeah, that's also another issue with the food security issue, because in many places where palm oil plantations dominated area, always just grow palm oil, and then all the food's coming from other areas, and local farmers don't grow food anymore or vegetable, and they only just rely on vegetable from other area. So then it become unhealthy lifestyle, because they don't actually grow anything from their own land. So we want to refer back, move backwards, actually try to promote agroforestry system, intercropping system, multi-crop system, like the way it used to be in the past, where our ancestors actually grow everything, from our land, from our garden, like forest style, landscape.
Great. So you have a 100-hectare permaculture farm. That's a demonstration farm. You're looking at some really interesting mixed crops that are creating different avenues for people to see. There's different avenues for making money than the main plantations that are around. And you're one of the Lush. You were supported by Lush, which is actually an amazing program that if you're looking for support for big projects in the global south, that Lush actually provides a massive amount of resources. So your relationship with Lush is that they helped you with the land, and then there's about some of the products might go there.
So we have been partnering with Lush Cosmetics the last 10 years, and then Lush supported us a lot in our bush regeneration program, our forest restoration program, and then we reclaim illegal plantations, and Lush support us to restore the land and to become a growing forest. And then we end up together with Lush, and we support from Lush, we purchased palm oil plantations, and then we converted into a permaculture site, which in a way we want to show a good model of ecological farming. It's actually simple and then doable and affordable, and then it's very easy to manage, even though there are some challenges, but it's getting to show the model. It's really important when we work on the ground. Sometimes we have to show the model first and what we've been doing, so people can actually adopt. So Lush has been doing very well, and we also grow so many essential oil crops that we produce, like lemongrass, citronella grass, patchouli, ylang-ylang, and some other crops. Vanilla as well. Then we can actually grow and sell spice and oil. And even better, like we'll grow cocoa and we'll grow coffee. It's gonna mix.
You can grow so much where you are. I mean, it's an amazing environment, really.
Like it's so beautiful and amazingly very attractive to see the variety of many crops in 1 hectare, for example.
So, that's an interesting point, really. So, as a farmer, being a farmer in just a monoculture plantation, the sense of self and well-being and the psychology of being a farmer in that environment to being a farmer in the type of ecological farm that you're talking about. Are you noticing any difference in that?
Yeah, I think when farmers choose to become ecological practice and ecological mindset, they actually see everything is part of the ecosystem that actually creates such a good balance for people and for the nature and wildlife, and they kind of giving space that this actually land is not only for you but actually for other species, for other plants, for other being like other things. You create a pond and you want to actually create such a microclimate for your surrounding, and you allow reptile, you allow frogs, and then at the same time you need the water, and at the same time you actually can benefit from that kind of really sustainable cycles in your own land. And then monoculture farmers just don't think about that. They just think about how to increase the productivity by putting a lot of chemical fertilizers. That's all. And then I think it will be for your own benefits if you actually look at the land is healthy and you become healthy. If you destroy your land and you destroy yourself.
I thought it was quite interesting too, just straight from that economic perspective, that you were saying that as a plantation farm you get a certain amount, but your costs of production of buying all the chemicals was this much. You might get a little bit less being an ecological farmer, but your costs are really low. So what you actually have in your pocket at the end of the month is more. And so this is an important argument, I think, that may help to shift some of the local farming practices that are going on.
We are conducting a field school, and then some farmers actually apply this kind of system, and they deliver their testimony that they actually pay much less for the cultivation of their crops because they shift to organic practice, and then they use all the resources in their land to become compost. And the yield is actually stable, but the income actually getting more because they don't need to spend more. So that's really appealing and compelling for many people to show the case that it's actually much better. And then the soil is so improving more and more, better and better in the long run. While if you actually put a lot of chemicals, and in the long run, the soil will be dead,
and the water system, and
water
the
system
ecological
actually
system,
affected,
and your health, and everything.
That people use a lot of herbicides, and then people use a lot of insecticides, and then with that practice, you actually don't need to buy those things, which is really expensive in Indonesia.
So one more thing that I wanted to ask you about is the school that you have on site. So you've actually started a full-time school for children. Tell us about what that is.
It's our dream to educate the young generations to become permaculture practitioners, to become organic farmers, and to become a guardian of orangutans. And it's really vital to have next generations to follow our step and even to do better than what we are doing. So if they have actually better education, they have access to good quality education. So we create this school as a full-time school, formal school, and they come to our garden as a classroom. And then they actually enjoy the forest. Like in the classroom, they can see even the forest, and sometimes they can see wildlife. And one day they told me they saw an orangutan crossing to one of the trees on the canopy. That's so lovely to see such thing. And this is the dream that we want to establish and to build among local people, that they have so much connections to their own nature. And
so how did you begin your journey with orangutans? What turned you to become quite a high profile orangutan conservation person?
I love orangutan. They are beautiful, they are sexy, they are so human, and they are the only mammal that live most of the time on the trees, and that means they rely on the trees, and they want the trees to be protected, and then they cannot live without trees, and that means so much strong message about how we actually deal with our climate change. And then orangutans is the flagship species that roaming in such rich tropical rainforest, and then their home is very important. And by saving the orangutan, saving the forest, and saving many wildlife. So I just love them personally. It's more like
the pictures you showed last night. I mean, it must be heartbreaking to go to some of those places and see the conditions that they're kept in, but also, you know, having the opportunity to make such a difference in doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a pity that they have to suffer because of human greed. It's all about forest loss. If we allow forest loss, then they will lose, and because of forest loss, and then many orangutans actually end up in a plantation. They are isolated in their small forest patch, and then they cannot go back to the main forest body, and then they are targeted for poaching.
And you were saying poaching is a big issue.
Yeah, because the baby is so cute, and people want to keep orangutan as a pet. It's illegal in Indonesia because to keep orangutan is illegal, and you actually can go to jail up to 5 years in jail if you have these orangutans.
But what Panut was saying was that in order to get the babies that are illegally traded, they actually have to kill the mother and extract the baby off the mother. It's just absolutely, you know, it must be a traumatizing thing to be part of and to see that.
Many orphan orangutans actually traumatized because of this kind of inaction for, you know, taking the baby. You have to actually
So the personalities, like you have close contact with the orangutans, and you feel their emotions around this. And so, do they have? Do you notice individual personalities? Do you see how they? What's your sense of how they feel?
Yeah, I actually don't actually encourage people to have a personal connections to orangutans. More like loving them in the wild, and then allowing them to enjoy their own space, their own nature. But of course, like for myself, orangutan is special in my heart, and then seeing them in the wild is something really, you know, compelling to me. And I want to keep them wild and to keep them free in the forest. And unfortunately, there are some, you know, orangutans very unlucky that they have to suffer because of deforestation. So really important to keep forest as forest.
So you find ones that are in plantations and way away from forest. You find some that are being kept illegally. You bring them back, rehabilitate them, or just send them straight back across to the forest where if they're fit and healthy.
Yeah, it depends on when we see orangutans and, you know, isolated in forest patch, a small tiny patch of forest, and in plantation, then we just tranquilize and sedate it with, you know, anesthetic stuff, and then we send straight away to the forest back same day on following day. But when they end up in the illegal captivity, then we have to send to the Rehabilitation Centre.
So if you want to find more about the work that Panut and his organisation does, it's the Orangutan Information Centre, and the website is orangutancenter.org. I'll put that down below too, so you can have a look. Now, if people wanted to support you, they can donate directly to you as well in your work. But also things that people can do to reduce the impact on forests and to reduce, I guess, the use of palm oil, all that sort of stuff. That's something that is helpful. What would help?
You must be conscious on what you consume, and then what you consume may be at the expenses of our rainforest. So you can choose to consume certified sustainable palm oil. You can choose you know, palm oil that does not destroy our rainforest. And if you choose not to consume palm oil, it's your own options. But just be aware that what you consume may be affecting our forests. And then that way you can understand what the impact is. You know. And I think you can help by doing good causes for your own self and your own community, and then you're doing good things, and then spread the words, support actions like what we're doing on the grounds, so we can actually be together, you know, making actions for our good life, you know.
Well, I mean, we are in a situation now where we're, you know, even David Attenborough is saying we're, you know, entering the sixth mass extinction everywhere. Every community needs to be working to be protecting nature, protecting wildlife species, and protecting human habitat as well, because we're undermining habitat of all species, including our own at the moment. And so it's such important work you're doing. Thank you so much. You're a part of an Australian tour. Hopefully other people will come to hear your wonderful presentation.
You know, all this kind of hospitality and welcoming us so nicely.
So welcome.
Enjoy this permaculture site. Thank you very much.
Thank you.